live. There we go. What's going on, everyone? Thank you all so much for tuning in at this time. Everybody that's here, greatly appreciate it. Anybody watching this on the replay, thank you so much. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. So, what do you say at this point, right? Lack of effort, can't shoot, can't defend, right? Guys don't show up, no bench, right? Austin Reeves can't shoot, DLo can't shoot. None of these guys can play. At what point do you just go, this team is what they are? This is, we've seen this now. It's the same movie over again, right? It's just a different season. So it's one of those things where it's like, what can we expect? Until we get a trade, until we make some moves to get some actual two-way guys, at least, one or two two-way guys, there's not really much that we can write home about with this team. This team is they're just not good, right? I don't think that they're god-awful terrible. You didn't have Anthony Davis. You didn't have Rui Hachimura. But it's still, yes, I do believe that this is a different game, but they didn't have Ja for most of the game, right? Which, by the way, we're going to talk about Cam Reddish. Great to see. But it's one of those things where it's like, this team just isn't very good. This team just isn't getting the job done, right? It just, what do you do? What do you say? It's killing me, right? We got smoked, start to finish, better effort, better everything. This team, they gave us, we got in total 45 rebounds, 9 offensive. They got 61 rebounds, 12 offensive. You lose the rebound battle. If it wasn't for turnovers early, which they cleaned up in the second half, but if it wasn't for turnovers early, guess what? We could probably get blown out from the beginning. Literally, the only thing that was keeping us in this game was Memphis turning the ball over. And as soon as they cleaned up the turnovers, all of a sudden they just ran away with it, right? So chance points, all of that. No defense out on the perimeter, no interior defense, no nothing. Nothing. What do you say? What do you do? At what point do you just go, all right, this is the team that it is? Now, again, look, it's, we didn't have Anthony Davis, you didn't have Rui, sure, but again, I don't know if we win this game, even with them. Not the way that everyone else is playing, right? It's very frustrating. It is. It's incredibly frustrating. But on a brighter note, to bring some brightness to this abyss of darkness, right? It's we got to see Christian Koloko, right? Finally. Obviously, he wasn't bad, but he wasn't what we were hoping he can be. He is skinny, though. He needs to put some weight on, right? He needs to add 100 pounds. Not really, but you get my point, right? He needs to add some weight for sure. But he gave you quality minutes when he was in there. He played 13 minutes. He gave you a bucket, gave you a couple rebounds, gave you a block. What you're hoping to see. First game back. Hopefully he can start getting into a rhythm here, start working out with the main team. Obviously, he's still on a two-way, so he can't just play the entire season. But hopefully we can see him get some minutes. Also, Jackson Hayes, right? He's a guy that looked like he pulled his hamstring or something. So he might miss some time. So we might really need Koloko. Koloko might be getting some heavy minutes here shortly. And then the other bright side is Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish, you got to play him. Reddish, LeBron and AD, and then bring Rui off the bench, and then hopefully that brings us some bench scoring, right? Hopefully that balances out the bench a little bit, right? You got to do something at this point, right? You got to do something. Lakers have lost 3 out of the last 4, and the one game that they won was a game that they should have won, right? So it wasn't this huge win. Don't get me wrong, the 3 home games, protect home court. We got a 3-game homestand again. Go win those 3 home games. But you got to get wins on the road, especially if you're a serious team. If you're planning on winning championships, you got to win on the road. right? Like, how do we win our championship run in 2020? We won on the road. How do we get to the conference finals? And 2 years ago, we won on the road. If you can't win on the road, you're not going anywhere. You're not doing anything, right? So again, the Lakers, they got to start putting some wins together. But Cam Reddish, I mean, the dude was fantastic, right? Like, what can you? I mean, he did everything you could ask for. Lockdown defensive, right? Like I mentioned, he was clamping up Ja Morant. I mean, he was just a menace out there on the defense side. He hit some threes, right? Like I've talked about, if he can play lockdown defense like we saw and just be serviceable offensively. I'm not talking about elite. I'm not talking about great. I mean, he was great this game. He was 5 of 7 from the floor, 2 of 2 from 3, 3 of 4 from the foul line, 6 rebounds, 2 offensive, 2 assists, 2 steals, right? Like, and only 3 fouls with 15 points. I mean, the guy, if he gives you that regularly, whew, but I don't really expect that regularly. If he can give you, like 8 to 12 points a game, right? And then just be clamps and help with the rebounding, help with everything else, perfect, right? That's all I want to see from Cam Reddish. I really think you need to start him. I really do. You don't have Vando, right? Who knows when Vando comes back? And even when he does come back, it's probably going to take him 20 games to kind of get back to being the Vando we know and love. I mean, we saw it last year, right? Vando, when he came back, it took him 10 games to kind of start. He wasn't fully back, but kind of starting to look like the Vando we know and love. And then he got hurt again, right? But Cam Reddish, if he can continue to play to the level and energy and effort, like he's one of the few guys that have brought it the last 2 games. He's one of the few guys that's actually giving you production out there, getting after it on the defensive side, hustling and trying to get offensive rebounds and just help with the rebound factor. Gives you some athleticism, gives you some foot speed, right? Like I think you got to keep Cam Reddish. I think you reward him with starting. I do. I mean, like, what are your other options? Austin Reeves can't shoot. He can't shoot. He can't. So this was another 7 of 17 game and 2 of 9 from 3. Last game, he was 7 of 17 from the field, but he was 3 of 10 from 3. The dude shooting 30% from 3, he can't shoot. DLo can't shoot. Right? Like, DLo was what, 2 of 9? Was it right? Wasn't he? What was he? 2 of 9 from 3, 4 of 12 from the field. 30% from the field, 22% from 3. And these guys are getting smoked defensively. So you're telling me neither can play defense and neither can consistently shoot the basketball. They become liabilities out there. Again, I do like Austin Reeves' aggressiveness, but like that's only going to take you so far with this current roster. Now, again, if you pull off some trades and you make some moves, like all of a sudden, Reeves, he might be fine as like the 4th guy. But as a 3rd guy, he's just not cutting it. We're not winning. It's not translating to winning. Right? Like Gabe Vincent can't shoot the basketball. I know he hit a few at the end, right? Or he hit 1 at the end, but he's shooting under 20% from 3. He's 2 of 8 from the floor, 1 of 6 from 3. I mean, he's never been a great 3-point shooter, but he's never been 18% from the floor bad, and he was 11% last season. Right? Max Christie finally hit a 3, hit a couple shots. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm not going to hold my breath, but hopefully this is like the beginning of him getting some shots together. I know Dalton Connect wasn't great, but like, again, he's a rookie. You're counting on a rookie. He's going to have his good games. He's going to have his bad games, right? Like, I can't get on the young guys that much, right? They're going to have their hiccups. They're going to go through their roller coasters. They're being asked to play such a huge role. But I can hold accountable the veterans and the guys that are being paid to be a big impact on this roster. D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, Gabe Vincent, LeBron James and Anthony Davis are carrying, doing everything they can. Rui Hachimura, he's got to be more consistent. Like all of these guys, again, none of these guys are good. None of these guys are consistent. They have their games, they have their moments, they have their stretches. At home, they look good. But you have to be able to win on the road. And this team cannot win on the road. This team is just not good on the road. They look terrible. They look like a completely different team. I mean, Anthony Davis said we're 2 different teams, right? You have the home team and then you have the road team, right? Again, I can't get on a Dalton Connect who is a rookie. I can't get on a Max Christie who, yes, he's having his struggles and his hiccups, but he was supposed to already get through this. If he would have played consistently last year and the previous year, we might have moved past this year already, where he's having his inconsistencies and he's having his struggles and he's having his issues. I can't get on the young guys because, again, this is their first chance. This is their first opportunity. You're asking them to go from 0 to 1,000. We need you two to be the best players on this roster night in and night out off the bench. That's a big task for anybody, let alone a 21-year-old kid and a 24-year-old rookie. Like, that's not what most teams, serious teams at least, that's not what they're expecting. Right? But where's Gabe Vincent? Where's Austin Reeves? Where's D'Angelo Russell? Rui Hachimura? Yes, I know he didn't play this game, but he hasn't been great the last few games. Like, these guys are just, they're not giving you what you need. And until we get a trade done, you're going to have these inconsistencies. We saw these inconsistencies last season. You know, I still think they're better with the coach. I still think JJ Redick's better than Darvin Ham because at least there's like motion and stuff. It's just the players aren't good. Players just don't make sense. You got a bunch of redundancies all over the place. This team's just a mess. It's a mess. But anyway, like I said, 2 bright spots. Cam Reddish. I think you got to start him. Genuinely. I think you start Cam Reddish. I think that'll make us better defensively to start games. I think, if he can give you, again, any type of serviceable, I'm not saying he has to go 2 of 2 from 3 and shoot 72% from the floor, right? But if he can give you anything resembling an offensive game, you have to start him, right? We need the defensive and athletic influx. We need that injection and put like a Rui or somebody off the bench. So hopefully our bench scoring goes up. Christian Wood, when he gets back, hopefully he can kind of get back to a version that we saw in Houston and Dallas and stuff to where, maybe he can give us double-digit scoring off the bench. And then maybe we'll actually have a compatible bench, right? If Christian Koloko can start getting in the flow of things, obviously he's a setup guy, but that gives you some shot blocking. It was great to see him out on the basketball court. Again, he is like rail thin. But it's nice to see his mobility, his athleticism, shot blocking abilities, right? This is the first game. I imagine he's gonna get into a rhythm. But anyway, let's get into all the chats, super chats, all that stuff. Real quick, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's get into it. Koloko was nice. AR, got to go to the bench. Less Gabe, more Reddish. Yes, Jordan, first off, I saw your first comment, but said a naughty word. So I just don't want it to get flagged by YouTube because then too many naughty words get greenlit and then I get limited ads and stuff. But I see your comment, Jordan, and I agree with you. It is some BS. Absolutely. Again, like at this point, what do you say? At this point, what do you say about this team? Again, no effort, no heart, no nothing. Like I said, I do think you gotta bring somebody off the bench. DLo, Reeves, or Rui need to go to the bench. I think you need to start Cam Reddish. I do. I think you need to start Cam Reddish, right? Dalton Connect, he's not ready to start. I talked about this up until this point, right? People were screaming for him to start, but that's fine. I'm not saying it's a bad thing he's not ready to start. Again, he's a rookie. It's his first year, right? Like, he's going to have those roller coaster moments. His next game, he might give you 20, right? That's fine. And then the game after that, he might give you 3. But again, he's a rookie. He's got to get the feel. He's got to get the understanding. He's got to get the rhythm down. But he's not ready to start. You need to keep him off the bench, right? Keep him off the bench. Let him come off the bench. I think you need to move one of these guys to the bench. Either Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, or Rui Hachimura. I would prefer Austin Reeves just because he's proven off the bench and he's actually more efficient off the bench. Every time he comes off the bench, he is more efficient. I mean, even last season was playing terrible, went to the bench, got back to shooting 40% from 3, immediately jumped up to leading 6th man of the year votes, right? And was giving you 17 a game on efficiency. He was shooting over, I think it was like, I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but it was over 50% from the floor and over 40% from 3. He finally got back to looking like Austin Reeves. I prefer to bring him off the bench and then put Cam Reddish in, right? And then just go big with DLo, Reddish, Rui, LeBron, and AD. Or, again, bring Rui to the bench. The only reason I don't want to put DLo on the bench is because he just completely disappears, right? Like Austin Reeves at least flourishes off the bench. DLo's the opposite. DLo just completely, he gets in his own head and he just fades out. And we need to try to trade him, right? So, if you just, we're just, not only are we not going to play him, but we also want you to take him. You're kind of in a rock and a hard place there. I believe the Lakers now drop to the 10th seed after being the 6th seed before heading into this game. It's obviously still early in the season, but it's just rough. Yeah. I mean, look, Lakers got a 3-game homestand. You got to win all 3 of them. You do. You got to win all 3 home games. It's that simple. You lose any of those home games, you're in trouble. You got to at least win your home games and hopefully figure out the road games. Hopefully get a trade done. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, again, probably not. I want to make this clear, like, don't hold your breath. However, if the Lakers were to make a trade sooner rather than later, like I said, it would be after this road trip. I hope and pray that, like, tomorrow we get news that the Lakers pulled off a trade, because there's been a lot of talk about, like, a Walker Kessler and guys like that, especially if Jackson Hayes is in some trouble, right? Like, and he's hurt. My fingers crossed, like, I'm putting it out into the universe that hopefully the Lakers get at least something done. A minor trade, I don't care. Even if it's just Walker Kessler, at least something. One, to just add some excitement back into the Lakers, and 2, give us some production. Give us a guy that can come in and give us a double-double and a handful of blocks, right? Like, need something like that. But, well, I hope I lived up to the rant. Yeah, Sheldon, I'm right there with you. And honestly, I don't understand how we went from 3-0 to now 4-4. And that one win was against the Raptors, yet still only beat them on 6. Because, again, it's guys usually show up. I mean, even last year was the same thing. When the Lakers were at home, especially DLo. The last season, DLo was like a completely different person on the road, right? At home, he was like one of the best players in the league. The dude was like unbelievably efficient, shooting the basketball, everything at home. And then he got on the road and he kind of was a little wonky, right? Like, it's just when you're at home, right? Those 3 games were home games. You have the crowd on your side, right? Guys are comfortable. They're used to shooting on these rims. They're used to shooting in this gym, right? Everything's different when you're at home. Man, then you got to go on the road. Now you got the fans. Like, it's just lack of mental toughness, right? Walker Kessler, welcome to LA. Also, sleeper trade could be Clark and Canard for Hayes and Vincent. I would do that all day, including Sunday. I just do not see a scenario where I mean, Memphis wants to trade Canard. They've been looking to trade Canard all offseason. Brandon Clark, I don't see them getting off of Brandon Clark. They really like Brandon Clark, but if that was ever a possibility, sure. I feel it, shaking my head. Now, AD and Rui was out, pretty much leaving us with nothing besides LeBron James. However, the Grizzlies was missing Baines and Smart, and I believe AD and Rui are more crucial, but still. Yeah, well, and also Ja, like, was in and out of that game. But, again, this was just – if it was a tight game and you took an L, sure. But that's not what this was. Like, you just – as soon as they cleaned up the turnovers, that was it. They just ran away from you. That was dominant. Dalton was terrible. Yeah, but again, like I said, I can't – one, I've talked about he's not ready to start. I got a lot of people said, he needs to start, and I told everybody, no, you cannot start him. He's not there yet. You got to let him get his legs in him. Again, he's a rookie. He's going to have his good games. He's going to have his bad games, but that's expected as a rookie. What serious contending team is so reliant on a rookie being such a big part? There's teams that, have rookies that are playing and are productive, but are asking them to be the guy off the bench. Right? Like, no one. Right? Not no serious team, at least. Yeah, I mean, Gabe Vincent's giving you absolutely nothing. He is. He's just cardio. Literally. That's what he's giving you. Cardio out there. Yeah, absolute mess. A trade needs to happen because, damn, if we end up losing to Philly without Embiid, then, oh boy, yeah, seriously. Seriously. Some of our bench players outperform our starters, yeah. Let's see. Max is a G League player. And if he would have gotten consistency the last few seasons, it would have been a different look. He's going through the issues that should have already been cleared and out the way, right? It's usually what you do. You draft a guy, you let him go through his ups and downs, you let him have his struggles, you let him have his good games and his bad games and his in-between games, and then, by year 3, he's ready to be productive and be consistent and play a role. That's why I keep talking about, like, you got to look at him as a rookie. He didn't get any opportunity. He didn't get any real minutes, any real consistency, any real role. When he was thrown out there, it was usually in garbage time, or it was just in spots where he didn't really have a role. It was just like, hey, we need a body, throw him out there, right? Like, instead of playing Taurean Prince 40 minutes a game last season, if you would have played Max Christie even 15 a game, right? Again, you would have probably had this season, last season for him, and he would have gotten over that hump. That's why I can't get on him yet. Let's see. JJ Redick is fine. I see a lot of comments about JJ Redick. Again, JJ Redick isn't the one playing the games, right? Like coaching can only provide so much. Like JJ Redick isn't shooting the shots. JJ Redick isn't turning the ball over. JJ Redick isn't the one not rebounding the basketball. He's running plays, he's calling timeouts, he's doing all the little intricate things that you want to see. He's just trying to get guys to find out rotations. Hopefully this guy, let me try this guy. But when no one's showing up, like, what is it? I don't care how good the coach is. You have the greatest coach ever. If the players don't show up to play, it's irrelevant. It means nothing. Yeah, Scotty Pippen Jr. did kill us. Let's see. Tyler, I'm not going to lie. Andrew was 100% right on Christie. He is a good prospect, and I like the idea of him. But if truly say we want to win a title, he needs to go. Again, I've always maintained, if there is a move on the table that makes sense for him, sure. I say it all the time. No one is untradeable. But I'm not just like adding him as a tack-in to do anything. He's a 21-year-old kid that, again, yes, I understand he's in year 3. But he's not being asked right now to be our 9th best guy. He's being asked to literally be our best player, be our best perimeter defender, and be a legit two-way wing out there every single night. And he never got the opportunity to do that. If this was year 3 of him consistently playing a role and he was playing like this, then yeah, absolutely. I'd have my pitchfork like everyone else. I'd be like, get this guy off my team. But it's not the case. The guy had no opportunity, no role, no nothing. And now you're asking him to, hey, we need you to be the best player off the bench every night. Right? Like, that's not an easy task for anybody, let alone a 21-year-old kid. This season, the struggles he's having right now through the first 8 games should have already been over with. He should have already had those opportunities and blew them. And like I said, instead of playing Taurean Prince 40 minutes a game and the Lakers' production was, bottom of the barrel, if you would have played Max Christie a couple minutes, right? Like, again, even consistently, like 12 minutes a game, nothing crazy, right? Then he would have had a lot of these hurdles. He would have gotten more comfortable out there. I mean, even the commentator was like, he's in his own head, because he is. Because he's like, do you know the pressure of being like, man, like, this is my real opportunity. If I mess this up, I might not play again, right? And then not only that, but I'm being asked to be the best player off the bench every night. It's a lot. It's a lot for anybody. Dalton Connect was just asked to start and be the 5th best player, and he gave you a dud, right? Why? Because he doesn't have the experience. He doesn't have that feel yet. He doesn't have the understanding of getting your spots on the floor and this, that, and the other, right? Like, there's very few guys that come in the league immediately that are just great and consistent regularly, right? Like, it's usually you have your roller coasters. Scotty Pippen Jr. and Jay Huff. Lakers had both of them. They were terrible for us. Literally awful. I'm old enough to remember the things that people were commenting about Jay Huff and the things that people were commenting about Scotty Pippen Jr. But guess what? Memphis didn't have anything, right? Like, they were like, hey, we want to be bad. We want to tank. We want to lose. So what do? Let's just let Jay Huff and, specifically Scotty Pippen Jr. Let Scotty Pippen Jr. play 40 minutes a night. And guess what? He had games where he was awful. I mean, awful. More turnovers and assists. Couldn't shoot the basketball. Awful. And then he had games where he was great. But guess what? He got over that hump. He already got the inconsistent roller coaster year, right? So guess what? Now this year, he's been a big contributor regularly for them because he already got over that. He already got the let me figure stuff out season. Now he's in the, okay, let me start putting things together season. And he's only going to get better, right? But the Lakers aren't in the position to do that, right? So you're asking Christie to do it in limited minutes in a limited role rather than an expanded role. That's the difference. If he's doing this in the regular season, there's no way you can think he'll be ready and comfortable enough to dribble in the postseason. Let me find the other one. I mean, you can't make a case that Gabe, Christie, and Hayes aren't going to be ready for 90% of the time they play. For DLo plus AR, it's about 45%. Not an exaggeration. They can't penetrate anything. They can't defend. Yeah, I mean, look, it's a mess, right? Like, you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis doing LeBron James and Anthony Davis things. And then beyond that, that's basically it. Like, again, you're asking these kids to do stuff that they shouldn't be asked to do, right? Like, again, I mentioned it earlier. What real team is asking a rookie and a third-year real first opportunity player to be your two best players off the bench? That's why I'm hopeful, fingers crossed. We'll have to see. My hope is that when Christian Wood gets back, if he can get back, and I'm not saying he has to be 17-6, but if he can be 12-5 off the bench, night in and night out like clockwork, then one, that makes the bench better, but two, you would start to take pressure off of Max Christie and Dalton Knecht, because now they're not asked to be the 6th and 7th best player every night. Now they're the 7th and 8th best player every night, right? Whichever one has it, that's the guy that has it. You're not asking as much from them if a guy like Christian Wood can come back and kind of get to being the guy that we've seen him in previous stints. Again, we need more than just Christian Wood. I'm not saying Christian Wood is the cure-all and that's it. Now Lakers are the best team in the league or have the best bench. But it could, again, you have to see it because I don't have a crystal ball, but it could, one, up now you got 12 points a game or whatever off the bench every night. But it also would take pressure off of Christie, off of Knecht, of like, hey, as long as Wood is doing what he's doing, then I can just go out there and hoop. Rather than right now of like, okay, I have to be great. Right? You can get in your own head. Like I said, even the commentators were like, he's in his own head. 7A Sports coming out with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. We're here is the deal. Explain to me why Scotty Pippen looked way better, even when he didn't play games. Lakers make a trade now, so stop this. Yeah, look, Lakers absolutely need to make a trade. Again, absolutely need to make a trade. And what are you referring to when Scotty Pippen looked way better, even when he didn't play games? Because, first off, Scotty Pippen Jr. was injured with us, right? Like, he missed, a season or half a season, for one. Two, he struggled. People were talking about he's not an NBA player, so even in the summer league. People were talking about how he wasn't an NBA player. Better than Max? He wasn't better than Max when he was on the Lakers. He was. He was, like I said, one, he was hurt, and two, everyone was like, why are we even playing this guy? Right? Like, he was playing garbage time and giving you nothing. Wasn't making plays, wasn't doing it. I mean, he said himself after the Bucks game. He literally said himself in the interview, right? Because of Darvin Ham, right? He said, Darvin Ham, he didn't let him play. He didn't give him an opportunity. He didn't do anything, right? Because Darvin Ham was like, he can't play, do anything. And then he went to Memphis, and Memphis was in a bad season and just said, go play. Go ahead, go hoop, right? Like, they didn't care. And he had great games for them, and he had bad games for them. Right? Dalton Knecht and Max Christie are, if they consistently play, they're gonna have good games. Like, it's just there's gonna be a night where Max Christie hits 4 threes. There's gonna be a night where Dalton Knecht goes and gets you 18, but it's sticking with them. The Lakers aren't really in the position to rely on them regularly. Right? Lakers are trying to win a championship now. Now, if this was something where it was okay, and hey, we're trying to get a good draft pick, then yeah, you let them play. The problem is we're relying on these two guys, and we're trying to win a championship. We're talking championship. This isn't a rebuild year. We don't want to waste another season of LeBron James and Anthony Davis, which is why they need a trade, right? Like, again, I've always made the trade guy, right? Like, every day I'm making trade videos, right? Because we need it. It's important. It's absolutely significant. But again, Scotty Pippen Jr., he wasn't what he's been with Memphis. Again, go look at some of those early games, right? Watch the tape. He doesn't do anything. And look, he's still not great. Right? Scotty Pippen Jr. still makes bad decisions. He still turns the ball over. He still takes careless shots, right? Like, let's not pretend like Scotty. Dude, go. I was literally in, because I was trying to figure out what was going on with Ja. I was literally in Memphis's little, threads, and everybody was talking about Scotty Pippen Jr. isn't good enough to be our backup. Memphis people were literally saying Scotty Pippen Jr. isn't good enough to be their backup, right? That they need to get a better backup because he's not ready yet, because of his lack of decision making, because of the turnovers, and because of his shot selection at times, right? It's easy to say, oh, our guy is trash, but every team feels that way. Every team thinks their guy is awful. Every team thinks that their guy is, not ready, right? It's just, again, he already is ahead of the game, right? He had 4 turnovers and 4 assists. He had as many turnovers as assists, right? Seriously, I mean, he shot well. He shot very well, right? He was 5 of 9 from the field and 3 of 4 from 3. But several of those shots were just terrible shot selections, right? Like, he's not, like, if he was on the Lakers, we'd all be talking about, like, why is he turning the ball? Look at that. Like, again, it's fan bases. Go look at some of Memphis's threads during the game, right? Like, they were all going, like, just every time Scottie Pippen Jr. made a mistake, it was like, oh, look, especially when the game was close. I'm talking about, like, when the game was close. Right? People were Memphis fans were ready to grab their pitchforks and go after Scottie Pippen Jr. Right? But you got to remember, again, he got an entire season of a head start. An entire season. Max Christie and Dalton Connect, they haven't had that yet. But again, they do need a trade. Without a doubt, they need a trade. I've always again, I'm the trade guy. But appreciate you, 7 Days Sports. Seriously. You're awesome. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat. Let's see. Sorry, trying to find where I was. Give me 1 second. Braun showed he still has the bully ball athletic drives when he tries. Yeah, I mean, look, LeBron James is still LeBron James, 100%. LeBron James is still LeBron, right? Like, and that's what's so frustrating. And he was clamping up. He was getting after it defensively, right? Ja kept challenging him. All right, let's do this, young buck, right? Like, I loved it, right? Like, he still has it in him. It's just we got to get players to support him and Anthony Davis. Talked about it in the offseason, right? LeBron James and Anthony Davis are good enough to get you to the promised land. But they're going to get worn down. They can only do so much. It's not a 2-on-2 game. If it was a 2-on-2 game, Lakers are winning the championship. LeBron James and Anthony Davis are probably the best duo in the league. But it's not a 2-on-2 game. It's a 5-on-5 game. And when Lakers have Anthony Davis and LeBron James giving you 60 a night, and you're only scoring 100, right? Like, what do you expect? And the other team is dropping 120. There you go. There's your answer. Dalton was a G League player. But again, he's a rookie, right? Like, he's going to have those nights. That's why I've talked about he's not ready to start. Like, people all offseason, preseason, and even after the first, up until this point, I get comments regularly of people that are like, he should start. He has to start. He must start. He's not there yet, but it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? He can still make a contribution. He's still going to have games where he goes and gives you 18 randomly, but he's a rookie. He's going to have his good games. He's going to have his bad games. I mean, look at Zach Edey has had some duds thus far, and he's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. Stephon Castle has had some duds, right? Like, Alexander Sarr, Rizishay. He had an interview not that long ago, literally like a week or two ago. And he was talking about like how different the NBA is. And he was talking about how, in was it France or whatever, like I'm hyper athletic. I have all these advantages here in the NBA. I'm just another guy, right? Like, he's a rookie. They got to figure stuff out. There are very few rookies throughout the history of the league that have been just great and great nightly, game in and game out. Right? Like, think of guys, obviously LeBron James, Wemby and stuff like that. But even Wemby had his duds. It's just, he's just so special on what he can do. But like last season, Wemby had games where he was like, 3 of 20. Like, it's part of the game. But usually it's okay. Because usually they're on bad teams that are willing to let them kind of go through that. The Lakers aren't supposed to be. I mean, they haven't been a great team, but they're not trying to be. They're not trying to tank. Right? They're not trying to tank for flag, right? Like, that's the difference. 7 Day Sports coming out the $5 Ship Chat. Again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You will hear very soon Lakers will make a trade. If they don't, they will be a play-in team. Golden State will run us out of the gym with 1-year players. Yeah. Look, Lakers, without a doubt, need a trade. Without a doubt. I don't know if you were here earlier, but I was like trying to speak it into existence. Fingers crossed, I pray, right? Like, because at this point, like, what else do you do? I really hope that we get news tomorrow of a trade. Been a lot of smoke with Utah. The problem is Utah isn't. They're not in a position where they have to make a trade anytime soon, right? They like none of these teams have to. Like all these teams are fine because all the teams that we're trying to make trades with are all bad teams that are okay being bad, right? Lakers aren't. So you either have to overpay or you have to be patient, right? It's easy to be patient when you're 3-0 on the season, but now you're 4-4. So now that panic's starting to set in, right? So my problem is, and my hope is, one, we need a trade. That's my problem. Two, my hope is we get something done tomorrow, right? Because I had people in comments that were like, hey, when do you think that the Lakers make a trade today or tomorrow or anything? And I said, the earliest I could see them making a trade is after this road trip on the 7th, right? Because they're not going to make a trade in the middle of a road trip because you're probably trading DLo or whatever, unless you're doing like Jalen or Chafino swap for Walker Kessler and throwing in a first or something, then you're not making some trade, right? In the middle of a road trip. I think if the Lakers do trade for Kessler, and again, I don't know this, I'm just a fan. I want to be clear, not an insider, not some reporter or anything like that. I will be surprised if it's a straight up Walker Kessler for Jalen Hood-Schifino plus, right? I think it'll be Walker Kessler plus Jordan Clarkson or a Colin Sexton. Fingers crossed on Colin Sexton. But I think it'll be one of those guys for Jalen Hood-Schifino and D'Angelo Russell, right? That's my guess, is that it'll be kind of like a 2-for-2 swap. And then, because you also got to remember, if the Lakers do like DLo for those two, well, then now they got to get rid of a guy. So it'll be a 2-for-2 swap because Utah wants to clear money. They want the Lakers to take Jordan. You could argue because he's incredibly inefficient. Like, yeah. So that's the problem. I would prefer Sexton because he's just more efficient. Jordan Clarkson is like one of the least efficient guys in the league. But you could potentially clear salary. And if you trade him soon, then you could still move him at the trade deadline if you needed to. Or at least try to see, maybe he can kind of get back the efficiency. Because he's had seasons where he's been more efficient, right? Like when he won 6th Man of the Year. He was actually very efficient that season. Right? He was like 38% from 3, something like that. But I'm with you. 7 Day Sports. Again, appreciate you. Thank you so much for Super Chat. Best trade you can make right now would be the Utah trade. Cast. Got to wait and see and make sure he's healthy, right? You got to make sure you need to see him play 20, 25 games before you make a commitment like that. So, in my opinion, go get Colin Sexton, go get Walker Kessler. You still have flexibility to go make other moves. You still have Gabe Vincent. You still have Jared Vanderbilt if you needed to. I don't know why I blinked on the name for a minute. Max Christie you could add if you needed to. Rui Hachimura. So you still have like $40 million in salary that you could trade to go get 2 or 3 other guys. Like you could go get Colin Sexton, you go get Colin Sexton and Walker Kessler, and then still go trade for like Bruce Brown and Cam Johnson or something like that, right? Like the Lakers still have options, or a Kyle Kuzma or something like that. Let's see. I mean, I'm hopeful. So, I mean, he hit a couple shots at the end in this game. I'm hopeful, fingers crossed, that kind of gets him back into a rhythm, right? Like start building some confidence. hopefully there's not too many garbage time games, right? Like, unless it's in the Lakers side of things. Like, if it's the Lakers side of things, then sure. But hopefully there's not too much garbage time things. Is the hope. D coming out the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Seriously, I appreciate that. Seriously. Reeves and DLo are terrible backcourt. Reeves has shot terrible this road trip. We got to come to the reality about the team. Look, I don't like. If you've been around for a while, you've heard. Look, every time I criticize Austin Reeves, people tell me I'm, the bad guy. And I've said it. We saw this all season last year. And we saw it in the playoffs. Austin Reeves shot 28% from three in the playoffs. And then he did the same thing in preseason. And now he's doing the same thing in the regular season. He did the same thing last year. He would have 3 to 5 games where he was great and shot like 70% from the three. Like we saw that stint before the road trip, or that one road game and then the 2 home games. And then he'd have 3 to 5 games where he was terrible. And you're seeing that same thing this year. And I've said, how many, because people are always like, oh, it's a small sample size. How much big of a sample size do you need? How many games do you need? We've had like 100 games of sample size showing that he can't shoot the basketball consistently. He can't. I'm not saying Austin Reeves is a terrible player. I'm not saying he doesn't provide other things. He doesn't. But him and D'Angelo Russell are absolute redundancies. D'Lo is completely phased out. He's the odd man out. Literally, like the offense that we're running and the way that we're approaching this game, literally, D'Lo, unless he's shooting the lights out, makes 0 sense on that court because he can't defend. You don't really need his playmaking as much as you did like last season. And so literally all you're hoping for is his scoring. He applies no rim pressure, right? He doesn't have the foot speed and athleticism. He can't rebound. Literally, he gives you nothing. You have to trade D'Lo sooner rather than later. Austin Reeves, the Lakers see him as untouchable. I disagree. I'm not the Lakers. I don't have ties to the Lakers. I can't call Rob and be like, hey, you need to trade Reeves. I'm not saying you trade Reeves, just trade Reeves. If you look at his salary per base production, he's one of the best values in the league. But to me, if you can upgrade, you upgrade. I was big and screaming from the rooftops for anybody that listened, trade Austin Reeves for DeJounte Murray. And I even said, you can then trade D'Lo for other things you need. And they won't trade Reeves for anybody. They won't. Unless it's Giannis, they're not going to trade Reeves. Or Steph in the offseason or something, they're not going to trade Austin Reeves. They just won't trade Reeves. And it's incredibly frustrating. You got to break up that backcourt. You have to break up the backcourt. You do. You either have to bring Reeves or D'Lo off the bench until, you can pull off a trade. Problem is, D'Lo his confidence, everything, he just poo-poos the bed when he comes off the bench. He's not a good bench player. Austin Reeves, on the other hand, is actually better. He gives you the same production, but on better efficiency. Last season, great example, right? Shot 28% from three, was at times completely unplayable, right? And then they moved him to the bench, remember, early in the season. And then Austin Reeves immediately went, and he was a 50, 40, 90 guy off the bench. I think he was like 88% from the foul line during that stretch, right? He was just better. He went from like 28% from three to 40% from three. He's done it every time he goes to the bench. He's just more efficient. So to me, I think you move Reeves to the bench and you put in Cam Reddish for right now because that you need that defense, that point of attack, and you need that athleticism badly. Rui, he's starting to be inconsistent. However, he's been rebounding the ball very well, and he gives you size. So I like the size of that unit, right? And then now you have Reeves off the bench. Hopefully that picks up your production from the bench, and now maybe you're in a better spot. It's my hope, fingers crossed. Like I said, I hope and pray that we wake up tomorrow and there's a trade. So I see you say, I absolutely agree with you about DeJounte Murray. That would have been an excellent pickup. I know. And I know Lakers were adamant about trading D'Lo for him. I think you get, again, who wins the trade? The team that gets the better player. DeJounte Murray was the best player out of anybody. We could have given up Reeves and D'Lo. And guess what? DeJounte Murray is still better than both of them. Right? I was adamant about it, but they refused to trade him. Right? And I wish I had more pull, believe me. I really do. I wish I had some influence into the world. Let's see. Sorry, trying to find something. Yeah, cardio gave BFX. It's literally all he's doing. When you can't hit threes, can't penetrate, prone to turning the ball over, and the defensive liability, that is objectively unplayable. I'm sorry, DLo and AR are not a serious backcourt. Yeah, they just can't. They cannot coexist. They can't. They can't coexist. They can't. Let's see. Coloco's man's got to go to McDonald's on a daily basis while ordering one of everything on the yeah, facts. Like I am so happy to have seen Christian Coloco. I mean, give it up for him one time, just from a help. Like obviously he wasn't like fantastic or anything like that, but like the journey of that young man to get to that point when usually it's career ending. I mean, come on. I mean that's a beautiful moment. Absolutely beautiful moment. But Tyler, that was heartbreaking. I looked at the stat sheet. I mean, it goes on and on. They had 7 players in double digits, 2 former Lakers. Torched us, and SPJ was better than the deal. Yeah, I said it earlier. Like, what do you say at this point? What do you say about this team? What do you say about this roster? Right? They're not good. They're not doing what they need to do. Right? I don't think this team is trash, but when they don't show up, this is the result. They're not putting a consistent effort out there every night. And it's not like, people said, it was only Darvin Ham. Well, now they're doing the same thing with JJ Redick. It's just they don't have the athleticism. They don't have the foot speed. They don't have the overall talent. You need these guys to be efficient. Right? When the Lakers are efficient, you're not beating them. They've shown it. Right? When they're getting 30 assists and they're shooting, 37% from 3 and able to open everything up, you can't beat this team. But when they play inconsistent, they don't hustle, they don't do the dirty work, it's what you get. It is what you get. Rui is your third highest paid player. He's not coming out. I don't care. So we're supposed to just lose because of salary? I mean, Stockton, seriously, right? So because Rui's making more than the bench guys, that means he's making more than Jared Vanderbilt. So would you not start Jared Vanderbilt? Healthy Jared Vanderbilt, peak Jared Vanderbilt. You're not starting Jared Vanderbilt over Rui Hachimura when it makes more sense because of salary? I don't care about salary, right? I care about what are you producing, right? Like what is the best version of this team, right? If you're making decisions solely on salary, then you're not making the right choice. Again, there's been throughout the history, there have been plenty of guys that have been sixth men that have been paid, $20+ million a year, and some of the starters aren't doing that. I mean, they're even better than some of the starters. I mean, Manu came off the bench for years, right? Why? Because that was what was best for the team. It shouldn't be, because of salary. Like what organization is doing it based on salary? They're doing it based on, obviously, if you're making $40 million, like you're not going to bench LeBron or Anthony Davis, but I'm saying like in variation, right? Like that's silly. You're doing what's best for the team. If the best version of this team is Rui on the bench, then Rui needs to go to the bench. It's that simple. 7 Day Sports coming out the $5 super chat. Give me 1 second. I think my dog needs to go pee because he keeps the old one and he can't hold it because he's like old. So give me 1 second and I'll come. I'll get right back to the super chat. Thank you. All right, we're back. Sorry. I just had to have my girl go take him potty because he kept coming over and he never, he's old. He's like 15. So he just he just chills all day. He's usually the puppy, the puppy will come up here and you guys will see the puppy all the time. She'll kind of tell me, she'll like nudge me and come and nip at me. She was just chilling. She's living her best life, but he only comes over to me other than for loving, but usually if he keeps pestering me like that, it's because he's like, I gotta go potty, and he's old, so he can't hold it like he used to. So I had to go get that because he just kept coming over, and he won't jump up or anything because he's old. So I just know his habits. He's just like, come on, dude. But sorry, let me get to your super chat again. I really appreciate that. Here is the trades: Kessler Clarkson for Jalen Hood-Schifino. DLo, Gabe, Rui, and Zach LaVine in a 3-team trade, and then go get a wing player for the Lolo. I mean, even in that LaVine trade, you could go. I wouldn't mind getting a Torrey Craig, Torrey Craig. I wouldn't mind getting Torrey Craig. If you get Torrey Craig, that'd be great. Gives you a legit 3-and-D vet off the bench. Like, I'd be totally okay with that. Yeah, like, again, me personally, let me start by this. If we have to take Clarkson in order to get Kessler, you do it. I do not want Clarkson personally. I just don't. I'm not a fan of Clarkson. I know he's a former Laker. I know people love Clarkson, former Laker. LA does have a lot of baddies on the sideline. So maybe, he was part of the baddie crew with like him and Kuz and all that. So maybe he'll ball out. But he's just, and this season, he's been more inefficient than like ever. He's shooting like 22% from 3 last I checked. So I'm not a fan of Clarkson personally. But if you told me the only way you can get Kessler is through Clarkson, then you got to get Clarkson. Sign me up for Jordan Clarkson personally. But yeah, Zach LaVine, look, you're here 7 Day Sports. You know how I feel about Jordan Clarkson or Zach LaVine. You got to go get Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine literally solves like 80% of our problems. If you get Zach LaVine and Walker Kessler, you literally solve like 80 to 90% of your problems. I'd still like a point of attack defender, but if Jared Vanderbilt or Cam Reddish can provide that, then you're fine there. You'll be better offensively because you have a guy in Zach LaVine who you don't have to worry about, is he going to show up tonight or not? I mean, even on his worst nights, he gives you better efficiency and production than what DLo and Reeves give you. So, yeah, look, if we could pull something like that off, I'm with you, 7 Day. I would love that. And then, like I mentioned, go get a Torrey Craig in the deal. All right, gives you a veteran 3-and-D guy, and let's rock it. We need trade Reddish and Christie. DK not ready. Look, first off, thank you so much for Super Chat. I really do appreciate that. Secondly, yes. Look, I would keep Reddish has been great defensively, and honestly, if Reddish can keep playing like he did today, and I'm not saying he has to give you 14 a night, you might have to look to trade Jared Vanderbilt. Can't stay healthy, and he's making $10 million a year, right? Reddish is making $2.5 million, right? Like, the problem is Reddish defensively, but if he could give you 8 to 10 points a game and then give you like 5 to 6 rebounds like he did today, and then just lock down absolute clamps defensively, I think we're talking. And then, look to maybe take Christie and like Vando, that's $18 million in salary. You take Gabe Vincent, it's another 29, almost 30 million in salary. Right? Like, Lakers have salary. It's just the picks are the problem. Lakers have 2 firsts, 3 pick swaps, and I think like 4 seconds. I think it's 4 seconds, I think, off the top of my head. So they need to basically turn DLo, Gabe Vincent, Rui Hachimura, maybe Max Christie, although I like him because he's 21 years old. You need that young development guy. And then maybe potentially Jared Vanderbilt if Cam Reddish can continue to play the way that these last 2 games, in my opinion, you can live without Jared Vanderbilt. If you get the right pieces, right? Because you're not trading Jared Vanderbilt just for a bag of chips. Trading Jared Vanderbilt for a position of need, right? You're turning him into like a Bruce Brown or something like that. Or like a Valanciunas to solve your center position, right? You're doing something like that. I see you said, you got to trade Gabe Vincent. Yeah, he for sure. He's literally just giving you cardio out there. Literally, that's all Gabe Vincent is giving you, cardio. So that is incredibly frustrating. Nick, coming out, $2 super chat. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Our backcourt is trash. Can't keep up with elusive G. Yeah, look, I've talked about it heavily. You got to break up the backcourt. Until you can pull off a trade, which is hopefully sooner rather than later, I think you need to move one of them to the bench. I think either A, Austin Reeves, or B, D'Angelo Russell needs to go to the bench. I don't know if you were here when I was going over, but I'll reiterate for you because thank you for the super chat. But problem, I would go, you have to go, in my opinion, you have to go with Austin Reeves. And why do you have to go with Austin Reeves on the bench? Because he gives you the most production off the bench, right? He gives you the same type of production, but on better efficiency, literally better efficiency. Right? Same thing happened last year. He was shooting 28% from three and like 40, I think it was like 42% or something like that from the floor. Darvin Ham brought him off the bench and immediately shot over 40%. I think it was like, I think or over 40% from 3-point range. And then I think he shot 52% from the 2 range. Like I said, I'm doing this off the top of my head, and that was like a year ago now. But literally, he's just more efficient. He's more efficient off the bench. DLo's production just tanks. And he's already pretty bad. And you might think, like, well, it can't be much worse. He can. We've seen it, right? So, like, my thing is, like, I just think at this point, what we've seen the last 2 games from Cam Reddish, I think you need to just let him give you that production, reward him with the starting role, and then keep Rui in the starting lineup because I like the idea of going big. And now you have Cam Reddish as your point of attack with D'Lo, with Rui, with LeBron, with AD. And now Austin Reeves come off the bench, and then he can kind of play his game. And that allows him to play his game more because now he's the 6th best player off the bench, and now he can go and do what he wants to do. So that's kind of my hope, at least. But Nick, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your super chat. But yes, they do absolutely need to break up that backcourt. Hopefully, it's sooner rather than later. Oh yeah, it's factory reset time. This team is going nowhere. Yeah, I do. I think I'd rather you reset this team and just see what happens, like, than just stick with what you got, right? Like if because the Lakers need a point of attack defender, and they really need a 3-and-D wing on top of a center. Like those are the 3 biggest needs. Or I think you need to just go get, like I said, a guy like a Zach LaVine who he's going to give you that offensive production every night consistently, and he gives you at least the athleticism. Because the problem is that D'Lo and Reeves don't give you the athleticism. So like when they're like, not only do they struggle to provide and help you in other areas, but then on top of that, they have no athleticism to get back in transition or to chase down loose balls or anything like that. It's like, why do we get beat on every position? I talked about this all season last year, right? People were like, we're a terrible offensive team. We're a terrible offensive team. We need to get, guys for no, watch the games. Like most of the rebounds that we give up are long because teams are just chucking up threes against us because we're terrible perimeter defense. They're long ball rebounds. And teams are like, take a bunch of threes because all we have to do is win a foot race against D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, and Rui Hachimura. You and me could probably do that, Terrence. Like, look, I'm not the spring chicken I once was, but they're not like these hyper athletes, right? So, but in all seriousness, like that's a big problem for the Lakers. We need to upgrade Max. I'm sorry. Gabe's got to go, but we all knew this. I mean, go and get Dorian Finney-Smith. Dennis, the minimum you owe that to AD and Braun. Look, like I said, I'm not against trading Max Christie. Like, trade Max Christie. It's fine. I just don't want to see him traded for a bag of chips. He's still a 21-year-old potential 3-and-D guy. Like, there's still a lot of upside and potential there, right? But if you can get something that makes sense, and like say you go get the Kessler and Sexton move, right? And then you go and I don't know, let's say you get Bruce Brown, and then you need Max Christie to go get Cam Johnson, then fine, do it, right? Because now I think you're stacked, right? Now I think you're probably the best team in the league, right? Like it just depends. Let's see. Oh, yes, bro. I see that. Yeah, definitely. I agree. I'm right there with you. They're not making the play, and I still think this team wins a bunch of games, but it's not looking super promising. I'll give you that. We all knew we weren't winning this, to be honest. Rui wouldn't have made a difference. 3-10 is not simply good enough. Dennis Levine, Dorian Finney-Smith, Kessler. I'm right there with you. Let's see. You love Max Christie. Yeah, he's 21-year-old kid. You got to have some development, guys. You need some guys around. Has he been great? Does he deserve criticism? Sure. I just can't get on him because, again, he went from not playing at all to we need you to be the best player on this team off the bench every night. It's a big ass. And he's 21 years old, right? If this was really year 3 of him getting consistent play, then yes, we'd be having a very different conversation. I would be feeling very differently about Max Christie. But that's not the case. Context matters, right? Context is important. Let's see. I would trade Austin Reeves and Gabe for Contavious Caldwell-Pope. I would too if that was a possibility. But Orlando, I do not see a scenario where Orlando does it. Lakers can realistically get KCP, Sexton, Kessler, and Kim. Yeah, I mean, they have enough. They technically have enough, like salary wise, to go get like 70+ million in assets. Because I mean, you're talking like so DLo and Rui by themselves get you to like 35, almost 36 million. Right. So then you add Gabe as another 11 million. So there's 47 million. You add in a Max Christie, there's 47, there's 55 million. You add in Jared Vanderbilt, there's another 10 million. So you're at 65 million. And then I feel like I'm missing somebody. Who am I missing? I feel like I'm missing somebody. Austin Reeves, if you want to trade Reeves. But then you have like vet minimum guys that you can add. So Lakers can get to like 70 million in salary rather easy if they needed to. It's just will they do a whole roster rehaul? That I don't know. Let's see. Tyler, forget the 20-game sample size. We can't afford to do that. Trade DLo, Gabe, Max, and whoever else it takes to make this team better. Problem is, like, we might not have a choice. Well, you can't trade Max Christie till 20 games in anyway, right? He's not eligible for trade till December 15th. So even if the Lakers did want to trade Max Christie right now, you literally cannot trade him till December 15th. So you are stuck with Max Christie till December 15th. So something you got to keep in mind. Yeah, I wish we would have kept Dennis over Gabe too at this point. I didn't mind at the time, but you got to keep in mind, context matters again, right? He was coming off of a finals run where he was the 3rd best player on Miami most nights, if not all, right? And he's just been a dud, right? Like, I will say I called Scotty Pippen Jr. Being a useful point guard in the league way before we released him. Oh, absolutely good call. Good call. Look, thing is, a lot of, like, if we're being honest, right? Like, Laker fans and the Lakers period aren't very patient with guys, which, goes into the Lakers mentality of like, you need to win every year. Right, we've had the luxury of being one of the winningest franchises ever, and it's because we don't really develop guys, right? Like I'm not saying we've never, right? But you think of like even like the young guys that we did keep, like like Magic and Worthy and Kobe and guys like that, right? Like they were unicorns. They were like generational, unheard of type of players, right? But usually the role guys, I mean, even guys like. I'm old enough to remember when Julius Randle, when we just like let Julius Randle go. And everyone was like, good, he's trash. He gave us nothing anyway. And now look, right? Like, or Ivaka Zuba, right? Like, there were some people that were upset about it, but a lot of people were like, good, he's not good. Get rid of him. And now he's leading the league in rebounds, and he's averaging like 16 and 14 or something like that, right? Like, thing is, like, you gotta be patient at times with these young guys. Let's see. Reeves can't shoot, but plays way better defense than DLo. DLo's just lazy. Reeves at least gives effort. Yeah, I agree with that. Tyler, give Braun a quick win. This team will be a nightmare defensively. Braun puts these centers in hell. I've seen in the Olympics and also triple. Yeah, dude, LeBron was getting after it. Problem is you don't want him to have to do that every single game. You don't want him to have to do that night in and night out. Is the problem? But let's see. They're going to be 500 at the All-Star break at best. I don't think so, but we'll see. Time will tell. I think they'll figure some stuff out. I think Cam Reddish is going to come back, or not Cam Reddish, Christian Wood is going to come back. I think that'll help a ton. If guys can stay healthy, we'll be right. Let's see. All right. I'm going to power through a couple more questions here and then skate on out of here so I can go make some videos for you guys for tomorrow. Let's see. Start trying to find something to me. Likewise, you got to get rid of Gabe Vincent. You do. Got to get rid of him. Trade, DLo, Hood Schifino, and a first-round pick, a pick swap, and upgrade the 2027 unprotected for Kessler and Sexton. I am with that all day, including Sunday. Make it happen. Let's see. C Wood will save LA. Are we done with DLo in the area? I don't think he's the cure-all, but I do think that he'll help, right? If he can get, assuming he can get back to being a resemblance of what we saw in Dallas and Houston, right? If he can get back to that not even 17 a game, right? If he could just get to 12 and 5, right? Like that's huge. That's 12 more points and 5 more rebounds that we don't have right now, right? And it's not like, oh, well, he's going to replace somebody. Like, literally, our bench is giving us nothing, right? So it would actually be an addition, right? That's the difference. But yeah, DLo and Reeves, you got to break up the backcourt. Let's see. Sorry, trying to get through all the nonsense troll comments. Dennis Levine, Dorian Finney-Smith, Bron AD, Reeves, DK, Cam, Wood, Kessler off the bench. We need the finals. We go to the finals minimum. I am with that. Again, we don't have players that shoot threes and play the way JJ wants to. They left us open all last year, and we couldn't hit them all last year with the same team. Yes. All right, they're with you. Like I said, you just don't have the effort. You don't have guys that can consistently provide what you need game in and game out, night in and night out. You just don't. Colin Sexton gives the Lakers explosive rim pressure and speed from the perimeter. Kessler fortifies Lakers interior defense. KCP gives them elite 3 and the guard and Cam. I am with you. True. How did Koloko look? I mean, played limited minutes, played a limited role, and he clearly doesn't know the offense. He was just kind of floating around out there at times, right? Like there was like twice that I remember where he was just completely out of position, which again, he hasn't been practicing. Like he literally just got like cleared and then called up, right? Like he was supposed to be spending time with the G League and playing in the G League games and going through their training camp. But given the sample size and how he looked, I thought he looked good. I thought he looked really good, right? He looked spry. He looked athletic, right? He had a couple nice sequences. I love the strong dunk finish rather than trying to get, fancy with it through traffic. I thought he did some nice things. Blocked the shot. Did what you need to do. JJ draws up the perfect play, and they miss the shot every time. Reeves open clank. DLo open clank. 80 and LeBron deserve better. Wish our front office wanted to win a championship. I'm hoping that they pull something off. I'm hoping that we get something sooner rather than later. Yes, if we could do something like that, beautiful. LeBron being our best three-point shooter is a slap in the face. DLo and AR, they're truly jokes 45% of the time. They are off yet. Sexton, KCP, Bron, Cam Johnson, Davis with Kessler being in the spot. Starting base, Rui can't guard nothing either. Yeah, be chef kiss. Make it happen. Oh, and now we might be without Hayes in Nightmare game. Yeah, Christian Coloco might go from not playing at all to like, here you go, here's 1,000 minutes a game. Um, do we think Olivari is better than Gabe? Given the way Gabe has played, yes. Right? I mean, you could argue Olivari can't be much worse, but to be fair, Olivari hasn't played an actual NBA game yet, right? So again, what does he look like? Right? Does he look like Max Christie? Does he look like Dalton Connect at times? Or is he able to come in, right? Like in theory, I would swap him with Gabe Vincent in a heartbeat, right? Gives you some 3-and-D uh, guard, right, with some decent size. Him and Gabe Vincent literally are the same size. Both are 6'3", 200 pounds. So Olivari, in theory, gives you, I mean, it can't be worse than 18% from 3-point range. So it gives you more than 18% from three and still gives you some tenacity on the defensive side. I would at least give Olivari a look. I made a video on AS, the Lakers show, and I talked about that very thing, right? That I think the Lakers need to, just give him a chance and see. Just see, right? Like, worst case scenario, I mean, again, it can't be much worse than what Gabe Vincent's been. Yeah, Connect is ready, but he will be. Oh, I think you meant not ready. Yeah, which is fine. Again, he's a rookie. You're not you're not expecting a rookie to be perfect and great every single night. He'll be fine. I agree with you. I might not watch another game. Tell DLo is off the team. It hurts me physically to watch them play. I feel it. Look, I get it. Believe me. Didn't see the game. Was busy, but how bad was it? 110, 1 being not that bad, 10 being sell the team to Winnipeg, 10 being sell the team to Winnipeg. No, I mean, if I'm being like, the overreaction in me is 10 sell the team to Winnipeg. But given the circumstances, context, I think it's like a 7.5, maybe an 8, right? I don't think it's like, sell the Lakers to Winnipeg yet. But I think it's like we're inching there. We're getting there. Like, you're at least making calls, right? Like, you're at least fielding offers right now. Right? You're at least you're picking up the phone. Um but um they should send Gabe to the G League, give his minutes to Quincy. I mean, at this point, can't get much worse than what he's been. Oh shoot. Damn. I just fast forward. Reddish should not start at all. I'd rather bet on trade deadline DLo showing up once rumors start swirling. Yeah, problem is, like, you need to get closer to the trade deadline because he knows right now that he ain't getting traded today. That's my problem. It's like, you need to get him sooner. You need to do something. Like, if these guys just continue to play the way that they're playing right now, I don't know what you do, right? Like, I just think you need to inject some athleticism, some defense, some versatility. It's just it's rough right now. It really is. It's rough. But I don't know. We'll see. Fingers crossed that hopefully something gets done. Let's see. All right, here, last little question. Let's do one more. Eric, do you think the Wizards would trade us Poole for Russell and Gabe and 2 second-round picks? Personally, I do not want Jordan Poole. I would stay as far away from Jordan Poole as ever. When he's on, the dude looks special, right? Like, when he's cooking, he cooks like no one else. But he might be as, if not more, inconsistent than DLo. At least DLo gives you the playmaking in a pinch at any moment. Like, Poole doesn't even give you that. Like, I would stay as far away from Poole as possible, personally. They would probably just give us Jordan Poole. Like, if we were willing to take Jordan Poole, they'd probably be like, hey, just match. Like, I don't even think we'd have to add picks. I think they'd just be like, here, just take him. Right? Like, just because, again, like, that was, I think they realized, like, we made a very silly decision. But Anyway, I'm going to get on out of here. Again, I appreciate you all so very much for hanging out with me. Everyone that gave me super chats, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. It really does help me, helps the channel as a content creator, right? Trying to make a living. So I really do. Thank you so very much. On the way out, please take a quick second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully pull out a couple more wins. We got a 3-game homestand. So hopefully that 3-game homestand, hopefully we get back 3 games over 500 and kind of correct what's going on with the Lakers right now. But again, love to hear. Let me know. We'll continue the conversation down in the comments. I'm going to make some videos for you guys for tomorrow. You guys are beautiful.